Well, now to reflect on the appointment of Roy Hodgson and the state of English football in general, I'm joined by one of the game's most colourful figures, Joey Barton. He's captain of QPR and can boast over 1.4 million followers on Twitter. He also has a couple of convictions for violence and once played for England. What do you think this appointment tells us about the state of English football?
I mean, for me, I think, the Englishman in the street wanted an English manager. So straight away, I think we limited our, appeal. I think it's a very, very shrewd appointment by the FA. They sort of headhunted him almost to the point where they've said they've not interviewed any other candidates. And I think, Roy Hodgson's got the track record. He's coached international football before, which is a complete and total different entity to club football. You have a lot less involvement with the players on a daily basis, and also you're managing other managers' players. So it's not a straightforward role, and I think Roy's got a certainly wealth of experience, not only in England but abroad and at major tournaments, and I think it'll bode him well.
He seems, from what little one's seen of him, to be a sort of quiet, thoughtful sort of guy. I
mean, I wouldn't know without, I haven't worked with him personally, although I have come across him in the game, and he is a straightforward guy. I think he's a very sort of cultured Englishman because he's coached Inter Milan. I think he coached Switzerland to number 3 in the FIFA World Rankings, and he's coached Finland and Abu Dhabi, as we heard before, and I think he's managed big clubs. Liverpool's a massive club, as I said before. Inter Milan's a massive club, and I think he's got a wealth of experience, and I think it's a very, very shrewd appointment by England.
It's a heck of a management of expectations he's got to deal with, though, isn't it? I mean, do you think we take football too seriously in this country?
I mean, that's difficult for me to say as a footballer. The fact that I've got over 1 million followers, that most of them I've never met on Twitter, sort of says football's taken seriously in this country.
But too seriously, do you think, sometimes?
Well, it's our national game. I mean, we're very proud of England, and I think that's why that we get so much media coverage. And
why aren't we doing better then?
I mean, it's a difficult question. I mean, unless I was appointed England manager, it's difficult for me to answer that. Why aren't we doing better in terms of what? I think we've got the best export, in global football in the Premier League. So, from that standpoint, I think we do fantastic.
Do you think there used to be an argument, didn't there, that good club football was somehow the enemy of a good national team?
Yeah, and I think, as the Premier League's grown over the last 20 years, I think sort of England to your average Englishman has slipped maybe a little bit because, the club becomes really important, and inter-club rivalries and that kind of thing have sort of grown beyond that national identity. And you're still in this country, there's a massive north and south divide, and I think the fact that England play at Wembley predominantly now, and even more so the fact that the amount of money that's been spent on Wembley, I think people in the north of the country sort of feel like England has become a southern-based entity, really.
English football's become a southern-based entity.
Team England.
What happens when people start thinking like that?
Well, I feel it should be addressed. I mean, I've been on record before as saying I think England should be a touring side. They are a representation of the whole of this country, so they should tour the country. We've got some great stadiums all around the country, I think, and I think we should take advantage of that. Obviously, it's going to be very, very difficult because of the amount of money the FA put into the new stadium, which is magnificent at Wembley. That's the reason, FA Cup semi-finals.
Do you think there's something wrong with the way that authority's exercised in the game?
Well, there's so much money involved, and I think, when money gets involved at the level it does, I think, it's like, I mean, the bureaucrats sort of have to feel they have to do something in order to justify the salaries they're paid. So they generally, stick their noses in sometimes where it's sometimes better to let the main experts and people who know the game. Yeah, well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, the paperwork and that kind of thing can get in the way, and I think the higher up the chain you go, I think obviously that comes into it more and more. And it's difficult because sometimes you've just got to let people do what you employed them to do, and hopefully for Roy Hodgson he gets the chance to do that.
Do you think there's a case for a generational shift in the team that maybe needs to go down 10 years or something?
Well, Jeremy, you're talking like an expert there. I sort of concur with that.
Well, it's your age group, of course. I'm talking about being over the hill, which is a bit right for someone as old as me. But
yeah, I would say so. I mean, my thought process is sort of towards England as a patriotic, sort of proud Englishman wanting England to do very well at major tournaments, because it keeps me interested, certainly in the summer watching it, the longer they stay in it. I would say, maybe it's the time to give Roy a little bit of license to shake it up a little bit in terms of, to maybe blood, some young, exciting players, which we've got a lot of in this country, and take them to a major championship, as the European championships are going to be, and build for, the next World Cup and the next European Championships. I mean, Germany did it just before the World Cup out in Germany. I think it was in 2006. The tournament previous to that, which was the European Championships, I think in Portugal, they blooded a lot of young players in, with the process of taking to the next World Cup and giving them that major tournament experience, and also giving them, probably the height of expectation and the media interest and all that comes with the game. You
don't fancy it yourself?
No, I've got pressing issues at QPR. We're in a relegation fight, and that's my sole focus at the minute. But that's where my mind's set.
Joey Barton, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now.